Put in work. Put them in the dirt. See me gon' squirt.
How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your weekly forecast of what the heck is going on in the universe. So, as you can tell by the intro to this video, who's ready to work? This is what this week is all about. This isn't the craziest week in the world. I'm not going to sit here and be like, there's a ton of energy going on. However, this week is all about Capricorn energy. We have Mars and Saturn, Pluto there, the moon's going to be going through there, yada yada yada. I got a lot to talk about. First off, I want to thank you guys for watching my Chiron and Aries video. If you haven't watched it yet, Chiron's going to be going into Aries on the 17th, and it is going to be there for 9 years. So check out the video. Let me know what you think. See how it resonates, see how you feel about it. You know, it's going to be a long transit, so there's a lot to talk about with that aspect. However, I'm also here at a new location, Mercury retrograde. I'm doing things differently, seeing, you know, what's going to look best. And I apologize for the wind because I'm still working on trying to get a video outside without the wind, and it seems to be impossible, but that's okay. So anyway, we're here, we're talking about the universe, what's going on. So, well, we start off Monday with the moon in Scorpio, so things are going to be a little bit intense. Don't be... the biggest thing with the moon in Scorpio is that emotions are going to be very vivid and alive. They're going to be very intense. You're going to feel like you need to release them in some type of way. A lot of emotional triggers to, you know, act on what you're kind of feeling, like emotional impulses. That's the word I was really looking for. And as the moon goes into Scorpio on Monday, you know, get intense, get driven on what it is that you're doing, because the whole theme of this week is work. This week isn't, you know, now that it's April, happy 1st, happy, I'm recording this on Easter, so happy Easter, happy New Year's, or not New Year's, April Fools, happy April Fools, if that's even a holiday to celebrate. But this first week in April really isn't all that crazy until we get into next week with the new moon in Aries, and then things will kind of start to kick off, and then Mercury will go direct and everything like that. However, this week, Mars and Saturn just conjuncted today, and the moon's going to be going through Scorpio, Sag, and Capricorn, and then by next week it'll go into Aquarius. So this week is really about, where are you putting in the energy? Where are you putting in your time and your effort? Are you working hard right now? And the biggest thing is, during this work, during this time where, you know, I would say hopefully you're putting in work right now. Hopefully you have a lot of big goals and dreams and aspirations that you're really working on, because that's kind of the energy right now. If you're kind of stagnant, not sure what to do, then maybe you got to kind of work on reevaluate what your goals are. That's the whole Saturn and Capricorn thing. We have things to build, we have things to reconstruct, we have things to restructure. So anyway, moon goes into Scorpio. This is going to be the time where you should really emotionally invest into whatever it is that you're doing. Get really clear on what it is. The biggest thing about this week that I kind of wanted to make an analogy of is, it's kind of like when you're working really hard on something and you're so focused on your work that you are in the middle of, even though you're in the middle of all this chaos, you're actually working out a bunch of stuff in your life. Like, I don't know, like I'm a server at a restaurant, so it's like, you know, things are really busy, but the whole time I'm like thinking of other stuff going on. Or I used to ride motocross too, so, you know, while I'm racing on this track, I wasn't even focused on the track. I was just like thinking to myself and talking about things, even though I was super focused on what I was doing in there. And this is what this week is kind of about. Get really invested in what you're doing, and you know, this is a good time to really evaluate things, especially as the moon goes through Scorpio and it conjuncts Jupiter. That's going to be happening on Tuesday. So as this moon goes through Scorpio, it's going to be really intense. I don't want to say really intense at all, really. It's just going to be a big thinking like a time to really think, a time to really process your emotions. You know, what do you really believe? What are you really investing in? Because Jupiter is in retrograde now, and it's going to sextile Pluto exactly at 21 degrees. So there is going to be a lot of transformative beliefs, a lot of transformative energy around that. And as the moon goes through Scorpio, that's where our emotions are going to be invested to. So a lot of Jupiter is that Jupiter energy is being really saturated, is the best way to put it, with the moon right there. That's happening on Tuesday. As well, on Tuesday, Mercury is going to be at 10 degrees retrograde, so it's now finally starting to make its way back into the first decan of Aries. Also, before I continue, I know I'm kind of scrambling on this video, however, on Monday, the moon's going to be opposing Venus. Venus is in Taurus now. We just got done with this full moon in Libra. Things are chill. We're okay. Like, nothing's a disaster. This is, in my opinion, like, yeah, Mars and Saturn conjunct in Capricorn. This isn't bad, in my opinion. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn. They love each other. They're working hard right now. But now that Venus isn't squaring Mars and Saturn, Venus is now trining it as she moved into Taurus. It's kind of like, this isn't as hard as it needs to be. This can be a little bit more easier. This can be a little bit more abundant and comfortable as we really start to work hard. And, you know, if you want to be making a lot more money, if you want to be focusing on, you know, if you're uncomfortable with your home, if you're uncomfortable with, you know, if you're just trying to get comfortable, this is a good time to do it. And getting comfortable looks like you putting in the diligent work and finding comfort in that space. So anyway, Tuesday, Moon conjuncts Jupiter, sextiles Pluto as well. The biggest thing with that, guys, you gotta let yourself get deep. You gotta get yourself get real. And it's not about getting deep with the emotions and going like, oh my God, you know, I'm feeling everything. This is all intense. What I gotta purge out? What do I gotta do? Just really think about what you're feeling. Jupiter's retrograde in Scorpio, so it's not about like oh my God, I believe in this and this is the ultimate truth and blah, 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 blah. It's just like, okay, this is starting to change. How can I really look at this? What do I really believe? And you know, this Monday, Tuesday is gonna be a really good time to, I don't wanna say like meditate. I mean, anytime's a good time to meditate, to be honest with you guys, but the biggest thing with this Moon conjunct Jupiter, let yourself feel what you're believing. Let yourself feel what you're feeling. Don't be worried about what you're supposed to be feeling. Be worried about what you are feeling. And take that into perspective. Let yourself grow from it. Let yourself change from it. Let yourself look at different options. Don't act as if the whole world's crumbling around you, because I mean, Jupiter is sextiling Pluto right now, so that crumbling effect is going to be more geared towards a positive light. So anyway, going into later this week on Wednesday, Moon enters Sagittarius. It's going to be trining the Sun. It's going to be trining Mercury. It's going to be squaring Neptune. Mars hits 10 degrees, and Saturn hits 9 degrees Capricorn, where he'll retrograde. So Monday and Tuesday are one thing, Wednesday's a whole nother world, because the Moon's going to go into Sagittarius. As it trines the Sun, trines Mercury, this is where it's going to be like, okay, I have that idea of what I need to be doing, where I want to be going, what do I really believe, what does that mean when it comes to this Mercury retrograde in my mind? You know, what am I trying to reset, what am I trying to rethink? The biggest thing with this Mercury retrograde, I've been saying this a lot, I don't think I've actually said it in my videos though, but do something different. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't succeed, that's okay. It's a Mercury retrograde. This is the time to mess up. It's okay to fail. You know, you'll never be successful in whatever you do unless you fail at it at least I don't want to say at least 1,000 times, but at least you fail at it once. But as the Moon goes into Sagittarius, it's going to be a lot more optimistic. It's going to feel a lot more freeing, especially as it trines Mercury and retrograde and Aries. That's going to be like, oh, okay, now that I've seen this perspective, now I understand how to rethink my perspective and rethink my strategy towards going what it is that I want to do. It's also going to be trining the Sun, so you're going to be feeling good, you know, have a little bit of pep in your step, all that fire energy of being really passionate and confident and all that kind of good stuff. Mars hits 10 degrees Capricorn, so we go into that next decan. That's when shit's going to start getting really powerful. That's when it's like, what kind of action are you taking? What is this action really worth it? Are you just, you know, putting in work with no ultimate goal with it? Or are you really striving to create something? As Mars does hit 10 degrees Capricorn and as Saturn hits 9 degrees where it's going to be retrograding, this is a big time to really look at, okay, where do I need to internalize and restructure the inside of me? Where do you need to it's kind of like when a corporate office gets bought out by another corporation and it's like, yeah, things are still the same, but there's just a little minor differences here and there as far as corporate structure goes. That's what this Mars and Saturn Capricorn kind of is. It's kind of like, yeah, you're going to keep doing this more and more work, getting things where you need to be going. However, how can you really restructure yourself differently? Where do you need to learn your own discipline and your own limits? Or where do you need to go, I don't want to say go past your limits, but whatever limits that you have set up, what are you willing to do to work around those? And you know, the limit right now with Saturn and Capricorn is, you know, if things aren't efficient, or if they're not effective, or if they're not really stable and they're not really like, you know, I guess helpful in any sense, they're not going to really work. So make sure whatever it is that you're doing is really reasonable. It's really just, you know what, it's really simple, it's really basic, don't overthink it. This isn't a big overthinking time right now at all. Like, this is not about your head, this is not about your emotions, this is just a big step back going, what are you doing? Like, does that work anymore? Does it not work? Does it work? I don't know, that's up for you to decide, or for the universe to really show you in its manifestations. However, Saturn hits 9 degrees Capricorn. Really, from now on until Saturn goes retrograde here, I think in like a week or two, really look at the way that you do structure and the way that you do, I guess, create the foundation of your life, of yourself. And I know that's a very broad, you know, perspective on things. However, with Saturn and Capricorn going to be going retrograde from 9 degrees to 2 degrees earlier in this year, the biggest thing is, before we keep moving on with all the Saturn and Capricorn stuff, we have to make sure our foundation is strong and stable. It's like, there's this building here in Vegas. It's like the biggest hotel right off the strip, right? You know, I think it's like 2 or 3 blocks past the Wynn and the Encore. It's the biggest building there. They were this close to finishing it. And guess what? the foundation of the building is 6 inches too short because apparently the construction workers read the blueprints wrong. And because of that foundation being 6 inches too short, it is unsafe or stable to actually use it. So you have this, oh, I don't know, it's easily a couple $100 million like hotel, and it's just sitting there because they can't do anything with it because the actual foundation and structure of it isn't working. Like, now imagine you doing what you're doing right now. You have all these big goals for the next 2 or 3 years when Saturn's in Capricorn, and by the time you get to the end of it, it's like, oh, well, I didn't actually put myself in the right foundation and structure, so this whole world I created, this whole building I created, I can't even use it. This is the biggest time right now. So as Saturn goes to the first degrees of Capricorn, while it's direct, you know, make sure you're doing everything that's efficient, effective, and as it goes retrograde, make sure that that is in alignment with who you are and on the inside. Now as Mars hits 10 degrees, it's time to start working, time to start going forward. And anyway, I'm hitting on this so much because then on Thursday, there's like nothing happening on Thursday. Moon trines Uranus. Woo! Okay. Like that's more of just like really inspirational and fun, but not a big deal, to be honest with you guys. Then the moon goes into Capricorn, and then it conjuncts Saturn, and then it conjuncts Mars, and then it trines Venus, and then Venus trines Saturn exactly. Well, that's actually technically on Saturday. But then Jupiter sextiles Pluto exactly at 21 degrees. Because this Thursday and Friday, like, as the moon conjuncts Saturn, conjuncts Mars, and then eventually conjunct Pluto later on this week, get emotionally invested into your work. Like as I was just saying, you know, when you're really working hard and you get into that meditative state and you're just kind of like thinking about things, you're just so into the zone that you just get in the zone. That's like the best way to really put this. And as it conjuncts Saturn, don't feel limited. Don't feel, you know, like, oh my God, my whole world's crumbling around me. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. The biggest thing for this is just take a step back, take a breather. It's not about, you know, I'm not saying don't feel your emotions or anything like that, but is what you're feeling efficient, effective, and is it working? Not saying what you're feeling, you know, oh, it's not effective, don't feel that way. But, you know, the way that you go about restructuring the way that you really feel about this whole Mars and Saturn and Capricorn energy, is that working? Is your perspective on your emotions towards this working? You know, it's kind of like if you have a hard day's worth of work, you can complain about it all day long, but does that really work? I mean, you're gonna do it anyway. There's no really reason to complain. You know that you're gonna be doing it. Why struggle with it? Just accept what you gotta be doing. That's gonna be a big thing. And as a moon conjunct Saturn, good time to really discipline yourself with that. Just really go, okay, what can I actually establish here? What can I actually do? And then as moon conjuncts Mars, it's like, all right, go time, go. So then, hold on, my paper's flying around right here. So then Saturday, moon conjuncts Mars, squares Sun and Mercury. That's okay. It's gonna feel a little bit frustrating. It's kind of like when, the best way to put it, I'm sorry about all this wind. The biggest thing I would say with the moon conjunct Mars is it squares Sun and Mercury is, God, I don't want to say it's gonna hurt, but it's like, just really dedicate yourself to this Capricorn energy. All this Aries energy is like, yeah, you know, I need to be doing this and this and this and that, and, you know, I gotta put myself first and X, Y, and Z. But as the moon conjuncts Mars, it's kind of like, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you should just keep your nose to the grindstone and just keep working. And it might kind of hurt this Mercury retrograde because it's kind of like, you want to maybe do something a little bit, you maybe want to do something else, maybe something a little bit more spontaneous, something a little bit more fun. You know, I mean, you can if you want, it's your life, I don't care, but maybe that won't work. That's the biggest thing this week is if it's going to work, do it. If it's not going to work, why waste your time? So then Saturday, Sun conjuncts Uranus. That's going to be great. It's just, it doesn't exactly conjunct, it just starts its conjunction with Uranus. And that's a big deal. Because as the Sun conjuncts Uranus, it's kind of like this slowly but surely liberation of yourself. It's kind of like a butterfly coming out of its, or I should say a caterpillar coming out of its cocoon to be a butterfly. It's like that process of taking off that shell and all that kind of good stuff. So as the Sun starts to conjunct Uranus here on, what was that, Saturday? Yeah, on Saturday, let yourself kind of like, okay, where are you feeling bonded and tied down with the Saturn and Capricorn energy? And where is it really time to start releasing it and releasing that energy from yourself? Then Venus is going to trine Saturn exactly at 9 degrees. That's nice. You got to start really valuing your comfort, really value your resources. Where are you really, okay, like what grounds you? What feeds you? What puts money, you know, in your bank account? What puts food on the table? All of these simple pleasures. You know, Venus is in Taurus now, so it's kind of like, you know, I would talk more about it, but Saturn and Mars are kind of like, we're winning, focus on us a little bit more. But as Venus trines Saturn, you know, don't limit yourself with the things that you can create. What do you really value? What really gives you that? I mean, if you can dream anything that you can want, And what does that feel like to have that? And take that feeling upon you and do the work. Like, you can have it. Like, you can literally have anything that you want in this world, but you got to do the work for it. And this is a great opportunity to really see that in your life this week as Venus trines Saturn. So then on Sunday, by the next time I talk to you guys, we got Moon conjunct Pluto, Jupiter, it's sextiling Jupiter, it's squaring Uranus, and then Venus hits 10 degrees Taurus and starts its sextile with Neptune. And that's where I don't want to say dreams come true, because it's so, I mean, it's just so whack. But at the same time, it's like, hey man, if you're really putting in this work, and if you're really starting to really value, you know, like what grounds you, what makes you feel comfortable, what do you want to splendor yourself in? Like, as it sextiles Neptune, you're going to be like, oh man, things are just kind of coming out of my subconscious. Things are kind of just coming into my world randomly, and they're just like, you know, maybe it's going to be some random money. Maybe it's going to be some, you know, some dream just kind of just appears, and you're like, well, that kind of happened like really nicely. And as the Moon conjuncts Pluto, sextiling Jupiter, squaring Uranus, you know, maybe it's going to look a little bit different for you this week. Maybe things are going to, you know, be a little bit more foundational, as long as you're willing to let yourself look at your emotions through a new perspective. And, you know, like I said earlier, don't ignore what you're feeling. Don't be worried about what you're supposed to be feeling, and worry about what you are feeling, because that's going to really help you this week in realizing what works and what doesn't. Because maybe feeling something about one way doesn't work, however, that's how you feel, so you have to confront it, you have to accept it, and then you have to ask, okay, how can I feel differently about this situation? Because you can never, ever, ever change what happens to you in this world. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit, but you can always change how it affects you. And I think this moon going through Capricorn, getting real pumped up with Mars and Saturn right there, and Pluto, is a great time to really change your perspective on your emotions. So that's what I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching all my videos, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. I got big news on the way, by the way. I know I've been saying that for a while, but it's finally all starting to come together. So if you watched all the way to this video and you're hearing about this, you're awesome, because a lot of people just like after like 5 or 10 minutes just get bored and just skip over it. So I appreciate you if you watched all the way to the end of this video, but I got big announcements coming up very soon, so get excited, get ready. Then by next week, Mercury goes direct, we have a new moon in Aries, and everything is just, I don't want to say everything's going to be great, but it's going to be a lot more enjoyable than it is right now. But this week, guys, work. Put in the work, put in the effort, put in the energy. Don't give up. It's all going to pay out eventually. So that's what I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much again, and I'll be seeing you next week.